So good evening, everyone. This is not going to be a really long intro, so we're just really happy to have Ivanel Pérez Bolívar today with us.
That sounds so cute. You can call me Eva.
Right.
Just Eva is fine.
She's an experienced design lead at Emakina, and without further ado, she'll talk about how Agile crushed her soul and SA fixed it.
And a solution architect fixed it, yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. It's nice to see people live again. Thank you for the invitation, Colleen. It's cool to be here. So when she invited me, I was thinking, okay, what can be interesting? I saw that you usually talk about product development and design strategy. And I was like, okay, I'm going to rant a bit about that then, because why not, right? And my laptop is screwing me right now. That's karma. So a bit of context, like who I am, because that will allow you to understand why is she saying Agile crushed her soul, which is just a very polemic title for a very boring talk. Okay, I hope it's not that boring, but so I'm an electronic engineer. I majored in 2005, and I did a master in Barcelona. I went to Spain to do a master, and once I finished, that master was very technical. It was about mobile communications and how you dimension wireless infrastructure so you can have signal on your phone. That was very technical. And one of the classes was about user centricity. And I was like, okay, I really like this. And I learned that in Spain, 80% of the jobs is about sales. So the first job I got in Spain was about selling Cisco devices, especially wireless antennas and controllers. So that's how I really started to connect engineering with what was my path in my professional life. So I was working in Ingram Micro as a warehouse wholesaler, and I was specialized in that technology. And I worked there for like 5 years, 6 years. I had an in-between, so that's not relevant. But after Ingram, a little startup hired me, and what they were creating back then was a software that was using the antenna's information to know where you were indoor. So instead of just locating you with outdoor antennas, was inside a place. And that was quite revolutionary in 2013, because we were able to design services, mainly marketing services, to send you messages depending on where you were. And then I start connecting, okay, user centricity, business model, hardware, so everything made sense for me in that company. But it was a startup. And when I joined the startup, they told me, okay, we need help to find a business model and make this usable for other, see, it's karma. Oh, I don't know how to stop doing that. That's interesting. So maybe I should dance with the click. So when they hired me, they were like, yeah, we really need help to bring this software, this product to other industries. And I was like, okay, but this software development, this product needs to fit in all the markets. So it's not so easy to just customize what you do with this interface for other industries. So I was helping on that area. And when I saw the whole planning, we received like 2 million, and we had to return that money in 2 years. And I saw the business model, and the money that the clients needed to pay to access the data we were collecting from the access point was very low compared to the infrastructure you have to pay. So the entry point just to have that platform was too high, and they didn't think about it. And I was like, yeah, okay, I can pay 500 euros per month to access to this platform and send push notifications on real time wherever the person it is. But if I have to pay 500,000 to have the hardware, makes no sense. I don't think you're going to be able to return this money. And they didn't. We actually, yeah, they sold the software to Cisco. And they start using this in their own product devices, because that was not planned very well. And we were always doing POC and another POC and another POC, and changing the software and changing the whole backlog every 2 weeks. So the developers were like, we hate the CEO, do something. But we were not able to control that because every 2 weeks he had a new opportunity with a new client where we need to do a very difficult stress test of the platform that was not ready. So it was a platform for 100 people, and we were doing like an event of 5,000, like Korea, and it was like nuts. But that was when you have someone in the lead that is more business oriented and the product team is disconnected. The needs were not the same. And that's when I started learning about Agile. How do you work Agile? How do you create software? How do you make a product stable? And you need to have a business model from the beginning. You need to have a user need from the beginning because you cannot just change it every 2 weeks. It just doesn't work like that. I need some help, obviously, with this. I cannot be able to understand that and not be able to stop my laptop doing this. Okay, so that was Mobdala. And then that adventure lasts a year. That if you have worked on a startup, that is like 10 years of your life because you literally don't sleep. And then I just decided to go on my own, be an innovation consultant. I had my brand, Dream Curse. I started working with agencies, but also with the small startups, like helping them to do their business model, connecting the three things, right? User centricity, technology, your business part. And that was super cool. And then I fell in love with a Belgian guy and just moved to Belgium. Done. That's how I arrived here in 2017. And then actually I did an interview here, but I was not selected. But that's okay, there's no hard feelings. No, right? What the fuck? But I was in Bunduga, I was in Emakina, and I was able to do really cool things. And now you have Colleen, take care of her. She's from Emakina, ex-Emakina. And she's amazing. So, okay, so that was, just in a nutshell, I've been working with companies that has been doing products internally, like a product-driven company, and for agencies. A lot of healthcare agencies in Spain doing like digital services, and that's like another world. And I learned a lot of things, but I think the most important thing is that I am able to apply everything that I have been learning, like B2B sales, funding, investment. How do you create a product? What is really service design? When I was a consultant, I was able to understand it's not about designing all personas and journeys and have this interface. It's really how do you adapt your company to operate and to deliver a digital experience. It's not about creating experience. It's how you operate and how you execute that experience, because it's not just one image, right? Like in e-commerce, you press, buy, you expect to receive something. It's not like that. Oh, maybe he's gonna help. Yeah. So all of this to say, I've seen and I've worked with Agile in both sides, whether you are a product company, whether you are an agency, that you are more in a project mode, right? And no matter the model, if you want to deliver something meaningful, you need to connect three things, right? Your business, you need to have an idea of a problem you're solving for someone, so it needs to be relevant for people, and then it has to be feasible. If you don't connect these three things, you really don't you don't achieve these sweet spots, which is the core representation of design thinking. And when I learned about design thinking, I went crazy. I love design thinking. I tattoo design thinking on myself, so I'm a freak about design thinking. But you can challenge it, you can criticize it, I don't care. But I see it work, right? And it works in digital products when you combine these three things. There is a good problem to solve, work for your business and for your users. When you really make a design that is useful, and then it's of course beautiful and easy to use, and you're able to execute the vision. If you're not able to execute, the idea doesn't matter, right? Because they're these two, and I'm terrible taking pictures of my books, but this is one. It's called Anything You Want, from Derek Sivers. He created a platform just to sell his songs. It's called CD Baby, and he sold it by a lot of money, and it's still working. If you go to CD Baby, it's owned by a group, and they just sell music for very independent, this type of art, independent artists, I'll call it like that, right? And in his book, he says, it's very radical, ideas worth nothing. I don't agree on that, but it's true that people are very protective of their ideas. It's like, oh, my idea is my baby. But that means nothing, because we can have the same idea and execute it the same. Otherwise, you only have one digital bank, and you don't, right? And he said you can have an awful idea, but if you multiply it by an amazing execution, that idea is super good, right? It's business worth it. And then a second book that is less radical, but it's also very good, and it's on the same level, is aligned on that message, is making ideas happen. And in that book, they said, like, idea is not enough. It's like, it's not worth nothing. It's just not enough. You need now organization and execution plus leadership, right? Those are really important elements. And what I'm trying to say is that the main takeaway is, one, don't fall in love with your ideas. And a project won't fail because an idea. It will fail because of the execution. And a strategist needs to be obsessed by this. I'm obsessed by this. I don't care the vision, the designs. I do care, and that's my passion. But when we are working on implementing something, this is where my attention goes, because this is where the thing will happen and it will be created. And you create it, and then you assess your client. Okay, do you know how you're going to manage it? Because we build like an amazing website for you. How are you going to put the content? How is the UX copy going to be here? Because this is just a mock-up. How are you going to continue this work, right? Because that's what a good design strategist should be doing. Not just doing a beautiful PowerPoint, done. Next. No, that's terrible. That's not good. And just to put it as a reference, right? If I talk about execution, I'm just taking SAFe, right, as a reference, which is the software agile framework, but very scalable, right? For very big companies, it's not small. And look how tiny it is. Design thinking is just a little tiny part. Look, the huge execution visual representation here. And that's okay, because it takes a lot to execute. So I don't give it for granted. I just want to be more involved. I just don't give it for granted. But okay, so I said that I want to share some struggles by executing some projects. And I want to focus only on Scrum and agencies, because that's the last experience that I have, and I think is the most interesting. And I said, and I put it on the description, I call the agency world like the jungle, because you're always on survival mode. Like 100 people wants to talk to you, and you want to talk to all of them, but then your workload is increasing, and then it's like, oh my God, I need to finish. But you know, you need to kind of manage all I don't want to say distractions, but you get a lot of distractions in an agency. Because you also want to help. It's like the best environment to learn is an agency, because you're gonna fuck it up and it's okay. Because there are a ton of people next to you, more senior, they're gonna say, okay, you know, it's fine. You just have to do this, 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 and this. And because you learn to be in such a stress mode with so crazy deadlines, you are just used to identify quickly how to fix something, right? That's what I said is the jungle. It's not a bad thing. Oh. I hope this works later. Okay, so I'm gonna share struggles across 3 projects. And there was supposed to be there some kind of GIF, but it's okay. And I don't put, of course, the client. I don't say in which agency this happened to me. But I think it's interesting if you spend an hour of your life listening to a stranger, that you learn something. I think that's the minimum, right? So I'm going to share with you 3 projects. I'm going to use a framework, and I'm going to explain you how I did wrong, what went wrong. So you learn from my shit. Okay, so there are 2 projects: Highway to Hell, Hello, that's from Adele, and We Will Rock You. So I'm going to start with Highway to Hell. Now, I told you I was going to use a framework. And I don't know if this is an ideal framework, but this is what I've seen across 15 years. So you have usually 3 streams. You have the strategic stream, the design stream, and the development stream, 3 tracks. And we're all working together at the same time, right? So usually the strategic team, your design strategists or other people, start by doing some strategic workshops, user research, while in parallel you have your development team doing their technical discovery. So this is more or less how things start. Then you're able to define, okay, this is my value proposition, and this is going to be the design briefing. So the UX designer can start working on it. but they are always listening to what you're doing, and actually they are part of some of the strategic workshops, right? And then the technical team, they design their solution architecture. This is quite simplistic, but it's a lot of things happen in that bucket. APIs, integrations. I'm going to complain about that later. But a lot of things happen here. And then we go through our design process, wireframes. We do the scenarios, the user flows, the wireframes, very methodic. We test. In parallel, you can start your brand exercise to the UI. I'm not going to repeat this in 3 projects. I'm just going to explain the framework. You do more testing, and then you define your North Star. Okay, this is where I want to go. I've learned a lot. I test. This is what we should be doing. Horizon 1, 2, 3. That's my North Star. And you build a beautiful roadmap. You fall in love with that roadmap. And while this is happening, your design team is getting to the final screens. And we do what we call the user story mapping. Do you do this? Have you done the story map? Great. And once we do the story map, we are able to define the stories, create the backlog. Okay, this is how we're going to structure the next sprints, and we do it. That's what we basically do. Now, if it's ideal, I don't know, but it's quite standard, right? You're familiar more or less with this. Now, the user story mapping, I want to do a stop here, because for me, that is a very important step that I don't see a lot of people doing it. I learned this in 2013. And really, I miss it a lot in the different companies that I worked before. So what is the story mapping? So it's basically a storytelling exercise. So we bring everyone in the room and we say, hey, these are the scenarios, and this is the main journey. And we start going through the journeys, seeing, for example, pages, what the user should be doing. It's like a journey, but more detail. And then we create the task. And then we select together, sometimes with the client, or we prepare for the client to the discussion. And we have like an idea of, okay, this is what they want to build. We give them designs, and this is more or less what we want to build. Now, a lot of things go wrong here because sometimes, sometimes they use our designs, and this is not a criticism, because I know when you develop something, it's quite difficult. But here, sometimes our designs are just like, oh, a recommendation. Thank you. It's a suggestion. No, I want to see this fucking thing. I don't want to see this differently. And if you do, tell me why. Because what we don't want to compromise is the user experience. And a lot of decisions are made here in the story map and the development sprints. There are a lot of decisions that are made here, they're made there, that compromise your UX, the entire experience. So everything is about collaboration, and that's, like, for me, a very key exercise. Okay, let's put the framework to test. First project, Highway to Hell. I'm just gonna say, okay, target audience, B2C, B2B, mostly content, some services. So that's the whole scope. I cannot say more. I am playing with Midjourney like the half of the world. So this is, AC/DC in the jungle. Okay. So the framework, everything was according to plan, but nothing ever goes according to the plan, right? So we did the whole strategic part. In parallel, things were happening. But in some point, the client says, oh, I don't want to do the user testing with the UX. It's too difficult. The user won't understand. Yeah, they won't understand. It's just a mock-up. No, I want to do the UI. But that doesn't make any sense now. And it's going to delay things. But the client, sometimes the client is right, sometimes. And okay, he wanted to do this, the client. So we did the UI, and then we did the user testing. And in parallel, the technical team were discovering a lot of things. It was very complex because they had a lot of these two words that are crazy. It's legacy systems. Fuck legacy systems. They had a lot of different platforms they use, and we couldn't change those platforms. We cannot just say, like, dump it, let's start from scratch. No, we couldn't do it. So they were really like submerged in this messy environment that they needed to figure out because we all had a tight deadline. So we were working, like, we were connecting to each other, but they were very busy. We were also very busy because the things were changing. And in some point we said, like, guys, we really need to sync. We are already like, we have done all the wireframes. Now we have the UI. We really don't know if we can implement this. So that's crazy. And then we start syncing. And when we did the user story mapping, damn, half of the things we couldn't do as we wanted to do. Oh no, this database you cannot call. Oh no, you cannot use this API. Like a lot of things were like, no, you need to change your designs. Okay, but we want to keep, at least we knew, but we had a very little timeline to change. But we knew. So what were my main struggles? This is a selfish slide. This is only my point of view. So what I struggled was that the tech team was swamped. And we're all working on the best intentions, right? But they were really swamped on legacy systems. We really think very late. And there were very tiny feasibility checks. So you really need to do a lot of checks when you are working. It was a massive project. And a lot of design has to happen. That also, if you have a project, you have a budget, makes it to be sometimes over budget, but then you need to accommodate the budget, and it's terrible. And a lot of design elements were compromised. Things that we thought, okay, this idea is great, but again, don't fall in love with the idea. So we were thinking, okay, if this is how we're going to add value to the user, how can we reorient our designs to keep that value proposition, right? That takes a lot of thinking sometimes. But the overall result, when we delivered the project, the client was super happy. I was not happy, but he doesn't care. He doesn't have to care about my happiness. He cared about having a great project, a great website, doing what he wanted to do with the money he has based on their priorities. So the client was really happy. We were able to pull it off with such a complex legacy because they thought this is not going to work. But we made it work. Well, they made it work. I didn't make it work. So the tech team was super proud. We delivered on time because they knew it was not going to happen. So we extended the deadline, so we delivered on time. And some details were lost across the way. And you will say, oh, it's just details. But everything that we do in design is based on the details. That's where we put a lot of attention on the tiny little details. So people don't know, but I know. The design team knows. But we have to live with that, right? Next project. That's also the beauty of an agency, is like, you need to like this type of adrenaline, like next. You know, you don't get hooked to that. Otherwise, you work on a product company. Here, you need that diversity. Otherwise, you are on the wrong place. Summary of project number 1. Now, the sweet spot, right? I talk about the sweet spot. So how I measure this, and this is really like subjective, is 85. Because yes, we help the client to do their business. Yes, we help the client to achieve their goals. And we really helped. We did what was possible with technology. And it was relevant to people? Yes. Did we make the best UX experience? No. That didn't happen. But then next project. Hello from the other side, Adele. This project is purely B2C. So you have some hints, it's content driven, you have some services, but you have a sponsorship. What that means is your design is compromised. I need to see something because I'm paying you money to see something on my website. Not gonna say more than that. So hello was great. It was a smaller project. We were in a scope. We were syncing all the time. Everything was on track. Until we got to the story mapping exercise. Why? So in the user story mapping exercise, I explained you this is a connector exercise, right? This is where we all show our screens. Usually we do it, to be honest, earlier with the UX design. We don't wait for UI, but when you show the UI, you really need to adjust your stories. So usually it's to align people. And the functional analysis is really key in this exercise. But what went wrong is that in this exercise, the Scrum Master was kind of missing all the meetings. And when we started the exercise, he started asking to the client, okay, what would you like to see on the homepage? And I was like, but we already have the homepage. It's designed, it's approved. Yeah, but I need to listen it. I need to listen to my client because this is what the Scrum Master does. No, you don't do that as a Scrum Master. You don't have to do that. But I'm also the project manager, but I'm also the PO. So if I start entering in the nomenclature of product owner, project manager, Scrum Master, it's so difficult because at the end, you're all trying to do the same. Keep your dev team focused. The other person is trying to manage the money to achieve the roadmap. Right? So you have these two roles. And in an agency, it's very fussy. Sometimes the project manager is doing everything. So it depends on the agency, it depends on the project, it depends on the people that is working, the experience they have, so it can be a combination. But here, he started asking, what do you want in all the pages? And the design team, we had to wait for like 4 hours of the workshop, just sending messages in Teams, like, what the fuck are you doing? We already have all this information. You really reopen the whole scope. We don't have half of the features you're talking about. We only have like 300K. We cannot do this. And we were all like alarmed. For those 4 hours, those 4 hours were horrible for like 6 people. So we finished the session and we had a talk with the Scrum Master, /PO, /PM, /everything. And he said, sorry, I was not paying attention to what you were doing because I was very busy on the project. Dude, you have to pay attention. But it was just a misunderstanding. We talked to the client and we said, okay, you know what? We can only really do this. And this is what you're going to get in 3 months, 4 months. It's tight. But the rest goes to the backlog. We can, keep working. We keep the relationship with the client, but we need to wait until the next year. So the client has budget. So it's like, okay, something you do now for the future, right? But it was like a panic moment. So, sorry, so don't open the scope in this exercise. And I knew it. It was like, I need to change this. I cannot keep doing this because I keep screwing it in the user story mapping. And I like to be methodic, but it doesn't work. Life doesn't work like that. So my struggles is that we reopen the scope, right? We ask a client, what do you want? That's really the wrong question. You don't ask what you want. You ask what is your business problem? What are you trying to achieve? Tell me about your users. How are you helping the user? This is really the worst question you can ask. What do you want to see in the homepage? No, because actually half of the homepage is compromised because of your commitment to some sponsors. So you cannot do that. So we went to review again all the designs. So we duplicate the efforts and some money that we could use to do other extra things were spent in that fussiness. But the result, the client's excited. They want to see the next step. Yeah, everyone is super happy. I'm the only one who is really always angry about it. So maybe it's me. I don't know, but everyone was very happy. We managed to align, so our designs were not lost. And we managed to identify, okay, maybe we need to change how we work. And we need to change for the better, right? Yeah, the launch of the site was a bit delayed because there was an API issue. So also, really hate them. And the sweet spot, I put 80. Because really, a sweet spot on a project that goes well means that we're all connected, that we're all in sync, that we all care about what the other discipline is. I care about the tech discipline as much as I care about design or strategy, right? We should all care about the other. Otherwise, it doesn't just work. Now, the third project, this one it's a B2B, it's an ordering tool. Yeah, it's easy, right? It's just B2B. There are no emotions, there's no storytelling in a tool. But you need UX copy, right? Because you still want the user to do something. Mid-journey. So I said, okay, this ideal flow is not working, right? I have to do things differently. I need to change how I'm working. So what if, and maybe you're gonna say, duh, I figured out this like 10 years ago. So what happened if I don't do any wireframes until we do the story map? And that's my design briefing, attached to my strategic direction. What happens if we combine this? And this is for projects where you really have like a super defined MVP, where there's really limited budget and you cannot just go crazy, which is like 95% of your projects, right? And I'm just going to do this first. And once I get the user flows in sync with the story map, we're going to do the wireframes. And then we test, iterate, that goes the same. And that's the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on the MVP, on the user story map, the small thing we have to release. But then I'm going to keep going in new cycles where the design team is going to brief the dev team. It's like a bridge between a product-driven approach with an agency. But in an agency, this is kind of difficult because you have budgets and you have to estimate from a start how much is something going to cost. $1 million. Okay, you have $1 million. And you have to use that $1 million. And $1 million goes very fast, really, when you develop something complex. So, okay, I had something in mind when we got to the third project, because there was a strict deadline and there was already like a strict MVP due to integrations. It was full of legacy systems and integrations, so fucking lovely, right? But yeah, I mean, that's where you're gonna find, right? People are trying to optimize, to modernize. They did things in 2000, 20 years ago. Things are not the same, but also new systems. Try to connect SAP with Salesforce, good luck. But we had a fantastic team in this time. This was different because in this team, everything is about the team. We all care. In this moment, when you find a team that you all care, changed everything. And that happens here because of Phil. So Philip Bell. This is a presentation in honor to Philip. And Philip is listening. So Phil is like the most collaborative solution architect I've ever worked with. This guy is really amazing. He cares, he understands user experience, and he loves good design, to the point that I had to restrict his Figma access. Because what he was doing, when we were doing some of the analysis, he was just changing the design. Oh, no, I want to do this. Stop doing that. No, don't. But does it look cool? Yeah, dude, then change career. Focus on what you have to do. And he needed to, and he was something that he does, no matter the call, he shares his screen. He was always sharing his screen. But that was great because what he was doing is, hey, look at my solution architecture plan. And this is what I'm going to connect. And this is what you're able to do. So when he was doing that, what he was doing is actually he was sharing his thinking and fitting my thinking to say what is possible and what is not. I don't get to do this at the beginning of a project. I get to do this very late in my project because the solution architecture is thinking and some people need their space to think. That's great. Phil and I, we are how do you call that? I think it's extrovert thinkers. We think out loud. So we don't mind to jump into a call and start thinking together and debating together. And that was great because very fast, I knew what I could do. I knew my limits. I know how far I shouldn't go, which is very difficult for me. I'm always going very far, like 2030. And I need someone that helps me to go back. Usually it's our dear Sarah, our UX, our content design lead expert at Emakina. Why? Because when our strategy, where our brain as a strategist is thinking what next and how it can evolve, it's so easy to go so far. But then the content team pull you back. Who is going to create that content, sorry? This looks beautiful, but they only have one copywriter. Like you need 10 people to do motion videos, this, like it's not going to happen. Fuck. So you need to really iterate based on that. Content is really important. Here was easy, it's a tool. But even if it's easy, there were a lot of integrations there. So what happened here is that Phil was crucial because even if we were working in streams, we were tightly together, like everyday conversations. Every day we were updating each other. He was in our workshop. He participated in our workshops. I participated in his decisions and his decision-making workshops. So we were able to do our user story mapping based on the scenarios and user flows. So once that was ready, we did the wireframes for the MVP. He was able to do the estimation. And we did the whole design thing. We are building it, we are launching it. It's done. It has been an amazing experience for me. To be honest, it has been amazing. And now we're thinking, okay, what is in V2? what money do we have, what are the things we had like on the freezer because it was not the right time. So it was great. My struggles was to keep the vision midterm. I don't know really how to do that sometimes. I need someone to like slap my face. It's too far. So for me, that was very difficult. Attend all the sprint demos and all the rituals is really a lot. So I couldn't do that. And then be patient just to wait for the MVP, because I'm a highly involved person in the execution. And when you're working in an agency, sometimes you do buckets. This is for design. This is for, also, we don't have budget for you to come to the tech part, to the implementation part. That's key. I don't care, don't pay for that. I just want to join. And was very annoying because you need someone to keep the user centricity and the value proposition across the project, right? The result is like the client was super happy. We managed to streamline their process like 80%. So they were doing like very like stupid amount of work you cannot believe. And we managed to really stream like 80% of their work. Now they have a lot of time to do other things. They have to define what they want to do. But we were able to synchronize those efforts, and we put in place a different way of working. And maybe for you, this is common. For us, this was an achievement. But that achievement relies on people wanting to collaborate. If you don't have that, it's very difficult. So put a field in your life, put a tech ally in your design and your strategic phase. It's going to help you a lot, because that doesn't exist like you can design whatever. Just we will see what you can do, or I don't want to involve the technical team because then you're going to constrain my ideas. Bullshit. Just bring everyone. It can be expensive, but when you do that, the result is better. The execution works better. The project is better. The result is better. The client is happier. Maybe you're not happy, but you tick a lot of boxes. So the sweet spot in this project for me is 90. You cannot run things 100%, but here things work pretty well. The user centricity, the value proposition we wanted to do, it was according to the business plan from the client for the year. It was feasible. We pushed the limits for all the integrations, and that's what I wanted to share. But this is not the end, because I want to make this interactive. And I said to Marco, instead of doing Q&A, I wanted to do something different. So I want to do what we call roast time. Do you know what is that? Very famous in the comedian world. So you come here next to me. At least 3 people have to do it. And you're going to roast me. Is like humiliation, but please don't humiliate me. But you can criticize, you can comment, you can ask your question if you want. Be kind, Belgium is a small country. So we might find each other again. And that's it. That's what I want to share with you today. You can applause now a little bit for the video. Yeah. I told you it was a boring presentation. Okay, who wants to start? Do we have a chair? Someone here? Can I bring just any chair? Who wants to start? Come on, you don't have to be shy. No one is listening. My father is listening. Since 5:30, he's connected. Hi, Papa.
And you can use this lovely microphone. Thank you.
Yeah, come on. There's something that you want to tell me, at least. It doesn't have to be bad. Cedric, you want to start? I work with Cedric, by the way, and with Alice. You want to say something, please? Is humiliation or a question? Just to see how close I sit.
No, it's not humiliation. I'm not that kind of person.
Okay.
Breathe.
I'm going to take some water. Yeah.
Okay. One question. I understood what do you mean.
But you talked very fast and you didn't get anything? Or you got it?
I got it.
Okay, good.
I got it perfectly.
It's a bit late. Okay.
Thank you, first of all.
Okay.
I didn't want to thank you because it's not humiliation, but shouldn't be that kind.
Yeah. You can start thanks and then you can
just thanks.
roast.
Yeah, no, that was so good. Thank you. I got the point that you mentioned that idea is not just the important part. The execution is so important. But you told that sometimes execution is something that make a bad idea works very much. Very good.
You can have a regular idea, but if it's executed super well, maybe you can do good business with that idea.
But what do you think about not the perfect and optimum idea? I make a difference between the bad idea or not an optimum idea, because if we have a bad idea that don't answer the question or solve
Don't
the
add any
problem,
value, you mean? Yeah.
yes, how the execution would be great or bring the value.
Well, to be honest, during the execution, you have very smart people and they will make it interesting.
So,
So the idea maybe is bad, but while they are building it, they're going to try to make it better, because they're not going to build something that is shitty.
so they change the idea.
Yeah, but there is no way that an idea stays the same forever. One thing is that you have a vision, and I want to achieve this vision by doing these three things. That's not really an idea. That's like, strategy are not ideas. A strategy is, I have this problem, and I want you to help me to achieve this problem. I don't know, let's say Netflix. And Netflix says, now we made a mess with a subscription plan and the subscription decision, because we share the password with some people. We are losing a lot of users, right? This example. And then, can you help me to see how we can improve this? Okay, that will depend in each country. I know, for example, in Spain, a lot of people share passwords. So I would think about how might we go to a different situation? How can we improve the current situation? And you give me 3 steps. And that's my briefing. This is what I would do. That's not an idea. The idea comes after. So I do see a difference between a strategy and idea.
Yes.
A strategy is my plan, right? But the idea can take many, many shapes. And that's when you have to be very generous, because you can do a wireframe, but wireframes are really disposable.
Yeah.
They will change over time.
Yeah.
And that's where you need to be in your sprints, because that is going to change due to many, many things, not just legacy, but also teams, the way we're going to operate. So it's very tricky to build a bad idea. I'm just saying, like, if you have a bad idea, but someone wants to implement it, along the way, that idea is going to change.
Yeah. So I'm talking about the scenario that we have a good strategy with a bad idea that can be misleading to reach to that
Good strategy, bad idea.
with a bad idea that can be executed well.
But that's quite tricky, huh?
Yeah, but in this scenario, you're changing the idea if it's misleading and you cannot reach
Yeah,
to
because
that,
a good strategy
strategy.
shouldn't let to have a bad idea happening,
But
because we're all working together. So if I come up with a plan, so let's say the subscription model. So I don't have any idea. I mean, I don't have any plan how to fix that, but I would do it progressively. I wouldn't have done it like so radical how they did, right? So I would think about 3 small steps. Usually 3 steps is good on how to fix it. But then remember that the idea in what I've been explaining is visualized in a design. And your design can take many shapes. And there you also have the voice of the designer saying this is the best direction. So you have to sync, and you have to kind of align the different, that's what a strategy should be doing.
exactly. So you say that if we have a good strategy, a bad idea won't happen.
It shouldn't. It shouldn't.
Yeah.
The strategist is there to kind of see the North Star, see where we have to go, have a clear idea on whatever we're designing is to help me to solve this business question, help the user, because if these 2 are not there, it's nonsense. So the strategy should be helping you to achieve these 2 things, connecting with technology. If this is not happening, probably the strategic person should be doing more efforts.
Exactly.
Yeah, you
This
can
is
tell
the
him or tell her,
Yeah.
please make more effort.
Yeah. This is the only thing that I want to mention.
Yeah.
If you have a bad idea, it can happen that you have a bad
It was a bad
strategy.
briefing. It was a bad briefing, bad strategy.
Maybe bad strategy.
Yeah.
So the execution wouldn't be
Was flawless, was great, but we are not solving the issue.
exactly.
Yeah, that
That's
can
the
really
thing that-
happen.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
But a strategy
maybe-
is very simple. But in simplicity, like, I don't remember, I think it was Mark Twain, and I have a colleague who always said this to me. Mark Twain wrote one time, sorry, I wrote you a long letter because I didn't have enough time to write you a short one. So strategy is seeing all the faults and simplifying what I have to do in 3 steps. So when I see some decks about, oh, this is the strategy, and I see already 100 slides, like, dude, this is really bad. I just need 10 slides to tell me this is the problem, this is where we should go, these are the steps to get there, and initial ways of measuring or initial ways to start my design. If I'm talking about design strategy,
Yes.
you have many different types of strategy.
Yeah. So I just want to mention that we shouldn't stay to this scenario that the good execution can solve the problem. No, it cannot compensate the bad design.
No, and you can execute something beautiful,
Exactly.
but then no one is clicking.
doesn't mean
No one
that
is using it.
it solves the
yes,
problem.
because no one feels like you are helping them.
Exactly.
Right? I'm
And
trying to think of an idea or like of a product that is the case. Yeah, but Blockbuster is a service, it's not a design.
I think you can find so many good cases for this scenario because
check
you
the
can
App
see
Store. How
so
many apps
good
do you have there?
UI designs that have been implemented by just a good front-end developers, but they don't provide the best user experience and satisfaction of users. So
Yeah.
you
But
can
also,
say that
when
it didn't
users
work.
are very smart. If you tell them, "Oh, download my app or go in this service," okay, but what are you going to help me to do? Because I have a lot of things to do in my life. So how is this going to help me? So when you do your competitor analysis, you're not competing with the same product. You're competing with your kids, with my life, with my work, with traffic. You're competing with a lot of things. But for that, you need that finesse in your thinking. So,
And the second one is kind of a question together with a suggestion.
yeah.
Why don't you classify or categorize your design or way of thinking to MVP or short-term solution, long-term to-dos for future, and current info? In that way, for example, the thing that I always do is that in a Figma file, I have different pages for short-term solution, long-term researches, and it helps me a lot to categorize my mind and stick to the short-term solution. Why don't you do it?
Well, I think that's
your
what we try
current-
to do with We Will Rock You, with the third project. It's like, okay, I know I have these limitations. I know I have this MVP. I know I have this budget. Usually money will be your indicator, how far you can go.
Exactly.
And I can develop a very cool North Star because I've done that before. And for some clients, it was an amazing plan. And they said, Eva, but we're going to achieve this like in 10 years. And everything's going to change with AI, which is changing already. So these are great ideas. These, not ideas. This is the great path. But I don't know if this will be the focus in 2 years. Because technology changes so fast that also your business priorities changes very fast. And sometimes you will say, okay, but this client changed their mind every 2 weeks. That's too much. But every year, that's normal, right? So you can also think long term, which is what I'm trying to learn. But sometimes you have to keep it short. You have to learn what is working, and then you have to iterate and then think, okay, based on the new situation with the current tools we have, with the technology that we have, what should be that next step? And your thinking should also be aligned to what is happening outside. Like last year, if I did a strategy last year, I didn't add any AI, just in one thing. But now I should review all my strategies because probably we should have been doing everything very differently next year.
Yeah, of course. I'm not talking about providing all the complete design for long term.
Sorry, I was thinking about the strategy, not the design.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about a strategy and all the design. Just
But the
you
design is
can-
tricky, huh?
both of them. You can just empty your brain
Yeah.
by put the ideas aside on some safe place, and you know that you have all of them, and
Well,
then focus on the short-term solutions.
We have a person in the team. Well, my team is great. I will always talk great things about my team, but one of them is a UX designer. He knows who he is. Basically, he's the only man. And one of the things that I learned from Adavin, hi Adavin, is that sometimes he can do that future thinking, but until we don't put the product live and let people use it, he shouldn't be doing those future
Of course.
screens because he doesn't know how people will react.
Of course.
And probably we will find something, we will get some insights that will change a bit the direction. So also the designers, sometimes they don't like to do that exercise with me because they said we don't know yet. I mean, it's good you have a vision, you have a plan, because the client is to prepare some budgets, the client is to do internal activities and organizations, but design, sometimes I understand why they wait a little bit. Usually I don't do a North Star with the wireframes. No, because I only have 10 slides.
Yeah, I understand. Shouldn't be more slides.
The strategy,
But
no.
just
No.
but just some alignments.
Yeah.
to have in mind.
Thank
What
you.
about we continue the conversation around the drink?
Yes. Someone wants to drink? Hey, no, I want 2 more roasts because no one is doing anything. No one is challenging anything. At least 2 more.
And that was for me.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Very
you.
brave.
It's not challenging you. It's more.
Oh, Alice.
So, I think we all need advice on how to find our own feel. How can you detect a feel in your team? Because you have a feel.
What do you mean, a feeling?
No, your famous feel.
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 Be nice with people.
No, but
Talk to people, because
can
Phil,
you-
I found Phil in a huge organization. Someone put us together and I was like, okay, Phil, I really need to try this. And we talk, and he was so open. I think you just need to talk
can
to
you
people.
give us maybe 3 criteria we can look for in a feel to
yeah, feel,
detect
feel,
one
feel.
in our teams?
Phil is different. Yeah, well, you need someone that is open, that wants to talk and wants to share. That's the first thing I can tell you. But to find that person, you just need to expose yourself. A lot of people working in design are very introverts. They don't like to talk to people. You know, they are like, I don't like people. Yeah, and I understand. But you need to kind of sometimes break the shield, just go and talk, because you don't know the amazing people around you. So I think the only advice is go out there, meet people, you are great, and start talking and have a conversation about how do you want to work? Claim what you want. In business, you need to claim what you want. That's very important.
So now we are all have good advice to earn for our own feel in our team.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Just be out there and talk to people. Someone else? And then the last one, and then we have the beer. I agree, it has been long. No one else? No one else?
Hello.
Hello.
Just a question, because I think that was on the last project you mentioned that, in fact, you asked the solution architect to be involved a bit sooner in the project. I was wondering why was he not part of the original brainstorming in the strategic workshop?
He was there. He was there.
He was there, okay.
He was
So-
from the beginning because he likes to be involved.
So, in fact, this solution
Yeah,
architecture
actually,
started
This
there,
guy,
technically.
Phil, was in the technical discovery, and then he plus the 3 more people defined the solution architecture. But this is the solution architecture. It's not the solution architect. Huh?
Okay.
So he was involved in the technical discovery.
So you would,
And here as
yeah,
well.
you would recommend having solution architect within strategic
Yeah.
workshop already.
Tech leads, usually we invite tech leads, but sometimes they say like, oh, I'm doing my technical discovery, Eva, I would love to join you, but just update me.
Okay.
But in that 2 hours, different workshops, like in those 8 hours, when you do the initial workshops, if they're there, things are more rich.
Yeah.
You know, I know we have to manage agendas because we are in different projects at the same time, jungle. But Phil joined from the beginning while he was doing his technical discovery. So he was sharing all the time new things. That for us also was challenging, like, okay, this is something new. Oh no, we cannot call this API, we cannot get this data, so we have to do it differently. So every week was something new, and still is something new. And what worked is to have the solution architect and the functional analyst sometimes from the start. But the functional analysts, usually they prefer to be here.
Just then, in a nutshell, what would be your perfect team for strategic workshop to make sure everything is smooth up to the end?
So on a workshop, which is another world, never more than 7 people plus a moderator. If you have more than 7 people, have a second facilitator. Who should be the roles from the client? Try to have maximum 5, and from your team 2. But of course, it would be ideal 3 and 3. So your client, business, marketing, and someone from the tech team of the client, and then the homology, like the same, everything in the circles. Then you have the business is your strategist, the solution architect with the functional analyst, and sometimes the UX. And that's the composition, I think, if I go here, is the same. So people that are connected to the business, usually marketing knows your users, and someone from your tech team, from the client and from your agency. Is a similar role, because then we can talk about the same things.
Yeah.
But they need to be decision makers. If you go to a strategic workshop, you need to have a decision maker. Of course, some companies start adding layers and layers and layers of people, but trying to find a workshop where you can make progress, and then you can just share your progress. And then you go back to your workshop to make progress, and then you share your progress. And then you kind of pivot the amount of people. You kind of split the amount of people you have to manage.
Okay. So to end,
That's what has worked well for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done more than 3 projects, but usually when I do that combination, is when it works really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Thanks.
You're welcome. The drink. Yes. Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot, Ivanel. We're very happy to have you here at Movify. Thanks for sharing your thoughts, your insight. Thanks for filling the room here. So many people interested in what you had to share with us. So, with no further ado, I suggest we go with the next questions around the bar. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right.
Sure. Thank you, Marco.